Today, we're going somewhere really special, to one of the most mysterious places on our planet, the deep ocean floor. Down there, in the pitch black, crushing dark, the death of one of Earth's biggest creatures isn't an ending. No, it's the beginning of a whole new world.
Just look at this. It's like something from a science fiction movie, right? Here, on the skeleton of a whale that died long ago, thousands of feet below the waves, there's this bustling city of life. You've got these weird bacterial mats, crabs, clams, and all sorts of worms, all packed together in a place that should be a total wasteland.
So that's the big question, isn't it? The deep sea is basically a food desert. There's no sunlight, so there are no plants. What on earth is fueling this incredible oasis? How can a pile of bones, of all things, become the foundation for a community this alive?
Well, the answer is a phenomenon called a whale fall. And let me tell you, this isn't just a carcass rotting away, it's the birth of a whole new world. When a giant whale dies and sinks to that abyssal plain, its body becomes an island of pure energy, kickstarting a totally unique ecosystem that can last for decades, maybe even a whole century. So, how does this actually happen? Let's follow the journey, right from a single death in the sunny surface waters all the way down to this life-giving oasis of bone in the abyss. It all starts with some pretty simple physics. You see, the bodies of these huge whales are denser than seawater. So after they die and their lungs empty, they start this slow, silent descent. And because there aren't many big scavengers way out in the open ocean, they often land on the seafloor, thousands of meters down, almost completely intact.
And once that whale finally touches down on the bottom, that's when the real story begins. Now, this isn't some quick event. This is a feast that goes on for decades, a whole sunken kingdom that rises and falls in 4 very distinct stages.
Yeah, scientists have mapped out these 4 key stages. You can almost think of it like a play with a brand new cast of characters showing up for each act. First, you get the mobile scavengers, then the enrichment opportunists, followed by the absolutely incredible sulfophilic stage, and finally, the reef stage.
So, first on the scene are the big guys. Stage 1 is all about mobile scavengers, things like sleeper sharks and some really gnarly-looking hagfish. They descend on the body, and it is a total feeding frenzy. Get this, they can strip away between 40 and 60 kilograms of tissue every single day. This party can last for more than a year.
Okay, next up is the cleanup crew. In stage 2, thousands of smaller opportunists move in for the leftovers. We're talking crabs, mollusks, and just countless species of worms. They don't just colonize the bones themselves, but also all the surrounding mud, which is now super rich with all this organic material. This part of the process can go on for more than 4 years.
So after a few years, all the soft tissue is gone. And you'd think, okay, show's over, right? Not even close. This is where things get really, really weird. The feast is far from over. Now the bone eaters arrive, and the skeleton itself becomes the main course.
So here's the key. Whale bones are absolutely packed with fats, or lipids. A special kind of bacteria gets to work breaking down these lipids. As they do, they release a chemical called hydrogen sulfide. You know, the stuff that smells like rotten eggs. Then other microbes use that chemical to create energy. It's a process called chemosynthesis, and it lets them build an entire food web from scratch using only chemicals. No sunlight needed at all.
And this stage has a celebrity guest, a seriously bizarre creature called Osedax, which literally means bone eater. People call them zombie worms, and for good reason. These things don't have mouths or stomachs. Instead, they pump out acid to dissolve the bone, and then they absorb all those precious lipids and proteins through these weird root-like structures. They're true ecosystem engineers, unlocking this huge bank of energy that would otherwise be completely lost. And because whale bones are so incredibly rich in these fats, this chemosynthetic stage can last a mind-bogglingly long time. A single whale fall can keep this unique community going for 50, maybe even up to 100 years. It becomes a multi-generational metropolis in the deep sea.
Finally, after maybe a century, all the nutrients are gone. This kicks off the 4th and final act, the reef stage. The bare, mineralized skeleton is all that's left, but now it provides something else that's super valuable on the muddy seafloor, a hard surface. It becomes a new home for filter feeders like sea anemones and corals to latch onto, the final, lasting legacy of the whale's life. Now, this whole process is just amazing on its own, but its importance goes way beyond the deep sea. In fact, a whale's death leaves a legacy that actually affects the entire planet. And it all comes down to one thing: carbon. To really get a sense of the impact, just look at this number. A single 40-ton whale delivers a huge pulse of carbon to the seafloor. It's the same amount of carbon that would normally settle on that little patch of ocean bottom over the course of 2,000 years. It's this incredibly concentrated delivery of the building blocks of life.
And that's a perfect example of its role in what scientists call the biological pump. See, whales build their massive bodies by taking in carbon near the surface. When they die and sink, they basically act like a carbon elevator, transporting all that carbon to the deep sea. Down there, it gets locked away, completely removed from the atmosphere for hundreds, maybe even thousands of years. But we humans have dramatically changed this natural cycle. During the age of industrial whaling in the 20th century, we just decimated the great whale populations. One study estimates that by removing all those whales, we might have reduced the total amount of life in the deep sea by over 30%. We were effectively starving these deep sea communities without even knowing they existed. So as we start to wrap this up, it's worth looking at the history for a second, because there's a really deep irony in the story of whale falls. We only discovered they existed at the exact same time we were wiping them off the face of the Earth. I mean, we had no idea these ecosystems were a thing until pretty recently. We got our first clues way back in the 1850s, but the first actual deep-sea skeleton wasn't found until 1977 by a U.S. Navy sub. And it wasn't until 1987 that scientists finally discovered the first living whale fall community and realized, whoa, this thing is powered by chemicals.
And this is the great irony of the whole story. At the very same moment, our technology was getting good enough to finally find these ancient, incredible ecosystems, we were also waking up to the fact that industrial whaling had nearly erased them from the planet before we ever even knew to look for them.
And the more we learn, the more we realize just how valuable whales are, not just in life, but in death too. This quote really puts it all into perspective. When you look at its ability to lock away carbon over its lifetime, a single great whale is basically equivalent to thousands of trees.
Which leaves us with one final, kind of hopeful thought. For about a century, we hunted these magnificent animals to the very edge of extinction. Now, as some of those populations are slowly starting to come back, you have to wonder, could their final incredible gift, these oases in the abyss, actually be a small but vital part of helping to heal the planet we all share?